beautiful, isn't it?
Very nice.
It's a better shot here. This way it stands still the mountain for you.
Did you lock this?
Yeah. Take the camera in with you.
Yeah, I need another roll of film. That's the car.
Must be about tours. Must be finding out about tours. What way you trying to build the thing? Trying to build the camera. Movie starts in 10 minutes.
Oh, excuse me. What movie?
You know, they'll tell you about the Academy. Gotta hide the bald spot.
Huh?
You good? I think Annette is going to get a couple of...
United States Air Force Academy, one of the finest, most modern officer training facilities in the world, where young men and women of every race, color, and creed may acquire a college education while preparing to become officers in the Air Force.
The environment at the Academy is a constant learning environment. You're constantly being evaluated and graded, and everything you do is important. Every little task, how meaningless you may think it is important. And you are forced to do that in stressful situations. And you eventually become a leader out of it.
I think entering into the Academy, the number one goal that you need to have is the desire to accept the challenge personally. Not for a father or for a friend or for a mentor or for the free education, but for yourself, the desire to be challenged and the desire to put out maximum effort, whatever that means.
Military training at the Air Force Academy is a year-round endeavor, with a significant portion of the training conducted during the summer months. Upper-class cadets gain experience practicing their leadership skills by filling leadership positions in one or more of the summer training programs.
The biggest thing I learned about myself is that I'm a lot tougher than I thought I was. The Academy pushes you through an intense program. First it starts off with basic cadet training, then I made it through the 4th class year.
I knew that coming to the Academy, I looked at it as though there would be 200 steps to complete. And accomplishing basic training was just one of those steps.
The new cadets, or doolies as they're called, learn what it means and what it takes to be an officer. Strongest among Academy traditions is its honor code.
The honor code is not the ultimate goal, it's a beginning. The ultimate goal is an officer who has ethical standards and character. The honor code is just a means to that end. It's the fundamentals, not lying, stealing, cheating, or tolerating those who do. But these are just the basics.
The honor code is not the top of what you're trying to achieve, it's the minimum. And if you know that everyone is at that minimum standard, then you can trust people and you can work with them more easily.
The honor code is one of the cornerstones of character development. Equally important to an officer's character is treating each person with respect and dignity, and conducting one's affairs in an honorable and ethical manner. Spiritual development is at the heart of the Air Force Academy chapel programs.
The Academy is very interested in ensuring that its graduates do have an opportunity to practice their spiritual needs. It doesn't advocate one certain religion over another, but it tries to ensure that all have equal representation or opportunity to practice their religion.
The concept of growth is central to the Academy's academic program. More than 20 different majors provide cadets with a full range of possibilities. Although the Academy has the choices and the spectacular facilities of a prestigious university, it has the personal touch of a small college. Classes are kept small, and each cadet gets the individual attention he or she needs to advance.
Here at the Academy, I know that because of such small classrooms and such small class sizes, that at any time I can get the special attention that I need.
The next 7 lectures, we're going to be behind doing double and triple intervals.
My impression of the instructors at the Academy is they're really devoted and dedicated to what they're doing. Most of the teachers that I have are really knowledgeable in whatever areas that they're teaching. But one thing that sets them apart, I think, is that most of my instructors are officers. And I think that comes out in their teaching. They're usually really professional with us,
The Academy is recognized as one of the finest academic colleges in the country, but it is important to remember that first and foremost, it is a military academy. Cadets grow to understand that they are no longer just individuals. They are members of a team, a group of men and women, future officers with a common goal, the defense of their country.
I feel like being part of a team is centered in putting the goals and desires and needs of a whole ahead of those of your own. And that's pretty simple, but I feel like that's at the heart of teamwork.
For me, team concept is a sense of working together and depending on one another and respecting various talents and skills and all coming together to accomplish a goal.
A cadet's time is very structured, but there's time to participate and enjoy in over 60 clubs and a whole range of on-campus activities.
There are numerous activities outside the classroom that cadets can participate in. These activities range from intramurals to intercollegiate activities. There's various kinds of clubs you can participate in. Any interest that you can possibly think of, you can probably find some kind of niche here at the Academy. There's no place in the world you can come and, jump out of flames and you really learn who you are and what your limits are. Once you go through that door, despite how scared you are, you feel like you do anything. And there's a team behind the football team, and that's the cadets. I think the Academy wants people who are in good physical condition. Because of this, they have an extensive intramural program.
The Academy sees athletics as the means of developing confidence, aggressiveness, and the will to win, all essential in an Air Force officer. Experience here comes in the form of challenge. Each challenge teaching you something about leadership and about yourself.
I've experienced leadership as a cadet soaring instructor pilot, and that has been one of the best opportunities I've had since I've been here. And I've learned that when you take a student up and teach them how to fly, not only do you have their life in your hands, but you're trying to teach them a skill and motivate them at the same time.
Academy has helped develop my leadership and educational experience by offering a variety of challenges. From wherever you go, you're going to find a challenge, whether it's athletically or in the collegiate team, in the intramural field, physical fitness test, in your academic classes. It's definitely a challenge, and militarily, you're given a lot of leadership opportunities within the squadron and summer programs, different opportunities to travel, do extracurricular activities such as jumping and soaring and flight training programs, and it instills within yourself a standard of effort and a positive attitude that's required of every activity. Excellence becomes a habit that goes with you to meet whatever challenge arises next.
In order to graduate, you have to have perseverance, and you have to have that willingness to keep going even when things are bad, and you know that graduation is around the corner eventually.
Each year, approximately 900 seniors receive their Bachelor of Science degrees and commissions as second lieutenants. Developing career officers who are continually in pursuit of excellence. That's what the United States Air Force Academy is all about.
Damn was.
On the other side of the water. Yeah. I'll sit inside and the last hour's down.
Of course, got it done away.
Yeah, you put the sign that says. Take a little late.
The what?
A little late. It's like a.
There's a bus we can take. See, you want to get rid of me, don't you?
Well, they make me wear a seatbelt. I guess they need at least one survivor, so they have someone to blame.
Let's see.
Let me give you a little information as we start off here. Number one, what we're going to go see is a city park. The city has owned it since 1909, and it was a gift by a Chicago family, specifically to start to make a park out of.
Can't hear you.
Okay, how about that's better? You got to tilt the mic just right. It was given to the city by a Chicago family. The building you just walked out of is rather a unique situation. It is a private enterprise. It was put together about 6 years ago and presented to the city council to private individual built the building and pays a fairly attractive amount of money every year for the privilege of the building being here and having availability to the park. Up on your right, 14,110 feet. You'll get by this tree. They put that tree in the wrong place. We have 2 races there every year. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. We have the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, and it's July 4th, and they race cars up the hill against time. And would you believe they drive 13 miles in 10 minutes, which doesn't sound... The white rock and this little ridge here date back to the Jurassic period. And as thanks to Hollywood, we all know what happened during the Jurassic period. We had dinosaurs, and we've had one dinosaur discovery in the park. And it happened in the 1800s. A Yale professor discovered the skull of a Camposaurus here in the park. That's a large leaf eater, herbivore bighorn sheep that live up west and north of us. Plants, animals, Indian lore. It rains so seldom here, you almost get out and walk in and enjoy it. You have to be mad to live here. The garden area, Byers, and the 3 graces. At one time, it was virtually...
It looks more like a lion.
Okay, coming up on our right down here is a fork in the road. And if you take the right fork, which we don't, you go to the west side of the park. I'm trying to figure out if children don't like my voice or don't like riding on the bus. If you look back across out to your left, that's a plant, the ground cover, Kinnikinnick is. And it commemorates where the Plains Indians came through here to get to their summer camping and hunting grounds. The music part of that stone is the fact that it says Zebulon Pike.
Okay, good.
Take a look. I was taking fish also while I'm here. don't know if this is let's see if this is open.
Venice. People don't say nothing. They don't say nothing. They videotape. They don't say nothing. They don't say nothing. Videotape.
Well, we didn't know you're filming us.
Well, I'm filming this.
Hello. How are you?
Did you get Devil's Gate, Ken? Did you get Devil's?
Did you bring your 50 gallons of water with you?
Did you take Devil's Gate? The sign?
Yeah, I did. Batteries seem to be holding out well so far. I keep my fingers
Well,
crossed.
you probably gave it a good recharge.
Yeah, I did. Well, these batteries are good. This is good batteries. Supposed to last.
About 2 hours.
Remember Rick Glenn?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's coming out in October.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen him in many years.
How's he doing? What is he doing now?
Returning. Fine.
Wasn't he district attorney the whole time or something?
That was John Ford.
Oh, John Ford. How's he doing?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Colorado Historical Society's Georgetown Loop Railroad. I'd like to welcome those of you who joined us here at Devil's Gate. Before we get started, I've got to go over the safety rules we have here aboard the train. First, we ask there be no smoking on the train. Smoking is permitted only in the parking areas at either end of the line. We also ask that no one sit on the side rails nor stand up in the seats. The rocking action of the train could cause you to lose your balance, and a fall from the train would certainly ruin your train ride. You're welcome to move from one car to another. However, watch those steel plates between the cars because they move while the train's moving. So if you're going from one car to another, make sure you're holding on to the handrails. We also ask you keep your hands and arms inside the cars. I know it's tempting to reach out and grab at those limbs and hang close by the track, but some of those limbs could give you a real nasty cut on the hand. So please keep your hands and arms inside the cars. We have wastebaskets in each of the cars. There should be one at either end of each car. If you have any trash, we'd appreciate you putting it into the wastebasket. Please don't throw anything from the train. If you have any questions on your train ride today, feel free to ask either of the train crew members. I'm the brakeman. My name is Dwight. Josh is our conductor, and he's out getting things ready to go. Those of you holding tickets for the Lebanon Mine Tour, that will be our first stop after leaving Silver Plume. So we'll let you know when we arrive there and how to get off the train. We should be underway in just a couple of minutes. On your way back down. It looks like we've got just a few more passengers showed up here at the last minute. We'll put them aboard, and then I think we'll be underway. The signal the engineer, we got 3 toots on the whistle, and that means we're going to move. Those of you that know railroad signals, you know that 3 toots means we're going to move backwards. What we want to do is take you down below the bridge. Show it to you from the bottom because it's a little different perspective. Now this bridge is almost an exact duplicate of the original. The original bridge was built in 1884. It cost $240,000, which was a lot of money back then. It was built with cast iron. Now this bridge was built in 1984, 100 years later, built in structural steel and cost a little over $1 million. This bridge is 5 times stronger than the original bridge. That's good because the old-timers said the original bridge used to sway when the trains went over the top. Well, I'll guarantee you this one will not sway because if it did, I would not be on this train. Now that track up there is 75 feet above us. But when we get up there and you get down, you'll think it's further than that. A little warning for those of you who joined us at Devil's Gate. If you're wearing a hat or a cap, you may want to snug it down on your head because it can be a little windy up there on the bridge. Also, once we cross the bridge, Josh and I will be coming through the cars to punch your tickets. The other reason we come to this side of the bridge is so you can ride the entire loop. In order to do that, you've got to start on this downhill side, the high bridge, so you can go under the high bridge and then loop over the lower track when crossing the high bridge. That's the loop, the Georgetown Loop. Now we'll be stopping here shortly, at least I hope we do, because we're running out of track. And once we get started, or once the engineer's ready to go, he'll give us 2 toots on the whistle. There they are, and that means full speed ahead. We're non-stop to Silver Plume. Enjoy your ride today over the loop.
Yeah, go for it. Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
It's all right.
black gloves. Slap you around a little bit.
Tickets, please.
Now, if nobody has a ticket, what do you do? Throw them over?
They get 3 choices.
Uh-huh.
Buy their ticket from me,
Okay.
buy their ticket at Silver Plume,
Okay.
or get off the train.
That's it.
The third choice, we don't stop the train for. They can just get off.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks.
You get a chance to see the mountains or inside.
I was thinking about maybe doing something.
these last curves, we'll be pulling into Silver Plume, much as the trains did over 100 years ago. If this is where you joined us, we'd like to say thank you very much for riding with us today, and hope that you come back and ride with us again sometime. Please look around your seat and make sure you've got all your belongings before leaving the train. For those of you who joined us at Devil's Gate, we'll be stopping here for about 15 minutes. You're welcome to get off and stretch your legs if you like. Perhaps visit our 115-year-old depot. It's the original Silver Plume Depot. It now houses our ticket office, a mini museum, and a gift shop. We also have restroom facilities and a drinking fountain in the building just west of the depot. We will be changing engines here, so if you do get out in the yard to take some pictures, you will want to stay on the depot side of the train, as we will be moving engines on the other side. For those of you holding tickets for the Lebanon Mine Tour, that will be our first stop after leaving Silver Plume. We'll let you know when we arrive there and how to get off the train. Again, thanks for riding with us. This is Silver Plume, Colorado.
Hey Bob, I'll bring you guys back onto the train.
Yeah,
Gonna get off a little bit?
If you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to stay here.
No.
You can stay here if you want.
Get off. Yeah.
Hi.
We take a picture under the sign, eh?
Honey, there's people going.
Go ahead. The tickets counter in the 1918s, they have been rather in the 1800s, 1918, 1800s.
Clear Creek. then on to the Platte River, the Missouri, the Mississippi, all the way to the Gulf. As much as we know, few people lived here until just over a century ago. A short time in the life of this valley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, rail fans of all ages, and welcome aboard the Colorado Historical Society's Georgetown Loop Railroad. Before we depart Silver Plume this morning, we do need to review some information to ensure everybody has a safe and enjoyable ride over the loop. First of all, smoking is prohibited on the train. Smoking is only allowed in the parking areas at either end of the railroad. If you have any questions throughout your train ride today, please feel free to ask either member of the train crew. Our brakeman today is Dwight, and he's out rounding up the last of the passengers. I'm Josh, the conductor, and we'll be departing Silver Plume shortly. Horses up on the seats, we do require them to be underneath. And if you could all slide a little bit together, we would like to try to be able to find some seats for everybody that's standing up.
See here, Bob.
Well, my person is going for it. It's going to be on my life. This is 9,000.
How many of us are here?
How high?
Denver is 54 miles.
Put together a little backwards this morning. The reason for that's quite simple. You see, the upper Clear Creek Valley is so narrow here, we don't have room to turn the train around. In fact, we can't even turn the locomotive. We put the engine on the downhill side of the train to bring us to Georgetown, and once we get there, we'll put the engine on the other end of the train to bring us back to Silver Plume.
That's great.
We came off from
The railroad you're riding on today is a reconstructed portion of the Georgetown, Breckenridge, and Leadville. You may have seen those initials on the sides of some of our cars. The first railroad in the area, however, was the Colorado Central, which reached Georgetown in 1877. Later that year, the GB&L was forced to build westward through Silver Plume and across the Continental Divide to Leadville. They only made it 5 miles west of here because in 1893, their parent company acquired a line that reached Leadville via a southern route. In 1900, both of these lines became part of the Colorado and Southern Railway, which operated the Clear Creek branch until 1939. As we come around the next curve off on the right side of the train, we'll be passing by a siding called Morning Star. On Morning Star sits locomotive number 9. Number 9 was built in 1884 by the Cook Locomotive Works and saw service on the original Georgetown Loop over 100 years ago. In 1937, number 9 pulled the last passenger train from Leadville to Denver, and in 1939 she was shipped out to New York for the New York World's Fair. In 1948, once again in 49, number 9 had a starring role in the Chicago Railroad Fair in an operation called the Deadwood Central. After that, she sat neglected for many years in the Black Hills of South Dakota. In 1991, the Colorado Historical Society purchased number 9, and it is their hopes to raise the funds someday to restore it to its original condition. Although only a sub-ended branch line out of Denver, the line proved to be very profitable, hauling supplies and miners to the rich mines of the upper Clear Creek Valley and the gold and silver ore back down to the smelters to be processed. This continued until the Sherman Silver Purchase Act took effect in 1893. At that time, the railroad began to lose revenue. But that was until the tourists discovered the line. From then until the mid-1920s, up to 8 sold-out trains a day could be found on the line filled with tourists. It was very common to board the train at Denver Union Station to go for a ride over the loop. At that time, you could have a picnic lunch in Silver Plume, reboard the train, and be home in Denver in time for dinner. By the mid-1920s, automobiles and highways had improved so much that people began to drive themselves to see Colorado's scenic wonders. In 1927, the railroad discontinued passenger service over this branch, but a few freight trains still operated each week. In 1938, there was so little revenue being generated, the railroad filed to abandon the line, and in 1939, all of the rails and bridges were torn out and sold for scrap. Our story would have ended there as it did for many of Colorado's early mountain railroads, had it not been for Interstate 70 of the Colorado Historical Society. In the 1960s, plans were drawn up to build the interstate right through the middle of the valley. This would have destroyed our railroad and mining history. The Colorado Historical Society felt this history should be preserved, and they were successful getting Interstate 70 built on the side of Republican Mountain where it is today. In 1973, with the help of the Navy Seabees, reconstruction began on the Georgetown Loop. In 1975, we had enough track relay to begin operation, and in 1984, the world-famous Devil's Gate Viaduct was rebuilt. This is now our 16th year of operation over the completely rebuilt Georgetown Loop. Early pictures of in the Silver Plume Depot of this area, you would have seen there were no trees here. They had all been cut down for mine supports, railroad ties, and log cabins. About that time, the miners built a baseball diamond and picnic area down in the bowl-shaped area of the fill. On Sundays, miners from all around would come up here by train for a ball game and picnic. It was said if you could hit the baseball across the high fill curve, it would be a home run. This would also end the ball game, since it was unlikely you would find it down on the other side. Now I guess you could say we're passing the home of the original Colorado Rockies, and they were a minor league. This railroad, like the original GB&L, is narrow gauge. That means there are only 3 feet between the rails.
Oh, that's the old art.
Standard gauge, which is common elsewhere in the United States, has a distance of 4 feet, 8 1/2 inches between the rails. Narrow gauge was chosen for the Colorado mountains because it can negotiate sharp curves and like steeper grades. The train is now entering the steepest portion of our railroad, a 4% grade. That means for every 100 horizontal feet traveled, 4 feet of vertical elevation is lost or gained. As a point of reference, 3 of our cars would be about 100 feet in length. Now, Dwight told me this morning that if you drop a piano down a mine shaft, you'll get A flat minor. In a couple of moments, you'll hear our engines whistle again. That will signal we're crossing Clear Creek for the first time on our descent to Georgetown. Off to the left side of the train, you'll see how rapidly the creek drops as it cascades its way through the Georgetown Valley. Clear Creek takes 2 miles to get to Georgetown from Silver Plume, while it took the railroad 4.5 miles to get there. The mountainside. Had this railroad ever had tunnels, this would have been the place for it, but they opted to build a cut instead. Notice the retaining walls on either side of the cut are built without the use of mortar or cement. This is done with a process called dry stacking. These walls were built 116 years ago, and they require very little maintenance today. They're tribute to the skill of the early day railroad builders, famous Lebanon silver mine. For those of you holding tickets for the optional mine tour, please begin making your way back towards the rear of the train to car number 9. At car number 9, you'll find our friendly brakeman Dwight there, ready to let you off when the train stops. Once again, this is the Lebanon Silver Mine. For those of you holding tickets for the optional mine tour.
What's that? No.
So that.
Oh yeah, they will get on the next train down. Oh no. Oh no.
Chelsea, are we allowed to get off?
What's that?
That's what I was thinking. Are we allowed to get off?
Between 1850 and 1890, the mines along this 4-mile stretch of railroad produced over 200 Silver Queen of the Rockies. As we continue around this curve, if you look off the left side of the train up towards Interstate 70, you'll see a silver drain pipe coming out from underneath the interstate. If you look directly above that pipe, you'll see an opening in the face of the rock. That opening is the 5th level to the Lebanon mine. The mine has a total of 6 levels. The 1st and 2nd are flooded. Tours are given on the 3rd. Interstate 70 occupies the 4th. And the 6th level is about 300 feet above that opening. Interest in building a tunnel, and they built a mine instead. To the right side of the train, you'll see an Ingersoll Run air compressor and the foundation to a boiler and bunkhouse. This is all that remains of the Hall mine. The Hall went on to be one of the richest producing mines in the Clear Creek Valley. For those of you not familiar with the story of the Georgetown Loop, it was the surveyor's answer to getting the railroad from Georgetown to Silver Plume. You see, even though the two towns are only 2 air miles apart, they differ in elevation by over 600 vertical feet. Had the railroad been built straight up the middle of the valley, the grade would have been in excess of 6%, which is far too steep for normal railway operation. The surveyors were able to come up with the idea of having the track double back and loop over itself while going through a series of horseshoe curves. This idea was to maintain a steady grade of about 3.5 to 4%, which is big. It's built on an 1984. This engine burns fuel oil to convert water to steam, and steam is, of course, what makes everything happen. I know all about it. On our descent to Georgetown. At this point, we've come only a mile as the crow flies, but it's taken the railroad almost 4 miles to get you here. We're also approaching the Devil's Gate boarding area. For those of you who joined us here, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Georgetown Loop Railroad for riding with us today. The Georgetown Loop joins Operation Lifesaver and asking...
What is this? In a city called New Rochelle. It's outside of New York City.
How you doing, kid? Actually, since we've come out here, since you guys have already, you gentlemen already on the side of the street.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you there. All right, Bob, are you still in New York or two?
I'm still in New York.
All right. Well, hopefully sometime I'll be able to see you guys' eyes. Makes it hard to talk to someone if you can't see them. Why don't we go ahead and start off inside the hotel here? I usually like to start off outside, but you've already seen my secret stuff. There's no secret here. What's secret? Over here so I don't interrupt his music. Got here at the right time. Sounds pretty good in here.
Yeah.
This is the Round Palace Hotel, and this is our second oldest Grand Hotel still standing in Denver. If you take a picture of me the whole time I'm talking, you're going to have to send me a copy. That's the only thing I'm going to ask.
He will. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry. Because I've done a lot of studying to get all of this information that I'm going to tell you all. But this is our second oldest Grand Hotel in Denver. It was completed back in 1892. And at that time period, it cost me $2 million. Because it's made out of Arizona sandstone, and I think it's kind of funny because we have lots of sandstone in Colorado. Why go to all the trouble of bringing it from Arizona? But it's kind of flaking off. Most people who have been inside like you are, you're looking at it on the outside, seeing it flake off, and you come in here and you see this beautiful nature. It is nice and nice tall. First get from the sun, and it's kind of neat too if you look at the way that the people are dressed. They're sort of waiting. Now, just to give you all a little idea of how long it would have taken me on a stagecoach. If you would have come here on a stagecoach from Kansas City, which is about 700 miles east of here, back in 1860, it would have taken you 10 days to get here on a stagecoach, and you would have been guaranteed 18 inches to sit your hiney on that 10-day trip. It's kind of interesting too. It's going to be near 100 here in Denver today. If you take a look here, notice the way people are dressed. They would have dressed like that every day of the year. This would have been their normal clothing. Beautiful, don't you think? And then if you look back to 1937, it's like the details of special paintings are popular. As you'll see tomorrow, I'll have everybody here for 1937, and look at the way people are dressed. Everybody's a little bit more formal. It's kind of neat. You know, that's a good question. I'm not really certain. True. That's a good question.
What's the question in there?
Yeah, is there world per capita or per person as because of all the gold taken out of our mountains between 1859 and 1942, more than $12 billion of gold and silver from our mountains. $12 billion. That's actual dollar terms. 35-million-year-old volcanic ash that erupted 35 million years from a volcano that erupted 35 million years ago on the other side of Pikes Peak. Actually, this stuff was mined out near Castle Rock. Also, the Molly Brown house would be made out of the same stone. This church, originally known as an Episcopal church, was built back in 1889, and it is one of the oldest standing churches in Denver, not in Colorado, but in Denver. It's kind of interesting, after it was built, about 6 months after it was built in 1889, the congregation got together enough funds to buy one of those beautiful pipe organs, very fashionable for the Victorian times. This pipe organ was powered by an underground artesian well that powered a water wheel. I don't know what you all think, but I think that's pretty neat technology. They still have the pipe organ, but it's powered by different means today. About 15 years ago or so, if you would have come down here, you would have noticed our downtown area was dying, and this church was dying also, so they sold their air rights actually back in the early 80s for to build a couple of skyscrapers. They needed to do some renovations and also try to get some more people. It was a lot easier at that time to go to church, you know, a couple blocks away from your house, out in the suburbs, than to come down to the dusty, dirty, crime-ridden downtown
When was this
area.
church built?
In 1889.
Oh, 1889.
It's a Trinity United Methodist church today. Yes, they do every Sunday. But about 15 years ago, it was almost dead. Today, though, they host about 2,700. They actually took that money from the skyscrapers and or from selling their air rights and did some renovations and everything. What's that?
It's over their property.
Well, I have kind of a pattern. If you'll let me tell a story, I'll probably answer all the questions that you have about a particular issue. And if you will like stories, if you don't like stories, then I'll just tell you a couple of points about things and we'll move along the way. But it's all up to you because it's your day. And I want you to all have a good time today. Anyway, they sold their air rights to a Canadian firm. We went through a recession at that time period. You all know we don't need skyscrapers anymore, right? We do the same thing out in Montana that we do today in New York with computers and things. But they took the money, did some renovations, and now they host about 2,700 receptacles. They made a nice growth. And I don't know what you all think, but I think it'd be a sad thing to lose a beautiful building like that. And actually, downtown Denver is the place to be. Do you folks come down here very often? It is the place to be. It's very popular, and you'll notice that. And it really makes me mad because it's a really nice walk. You know, just on the Golden Curve. They don't have it on the news.
This looks like a restored building.
1880. Wonder how these
1880, yeah.
Brand new walls. Actually, this is the Navarre building. It was completed back in 1880, as it says. And originally it was built as a co-ed school out here on the plains. It is built in a French Renaissance style, and if you look on the top, it has a beautiful Victorian cupola. Originally, like I said, a schoolhouse out here on the plains, a co-ed schoolhouse. Later on, it became a bordello and a gambling hall. And if you take a look at the gas lamp on the right-hand side over there, there's actually a rumor that there's a tunnel that leads underneath the street over here to the Brown Palace Hotel. And it's rumored that that's where the rich men would sneak off and go have an affair without their ladies ever knowing, or having their gambling, so without their ladies ever knowing. Today, it's actually the offices of a gentleman by the name of Philip Anshoes, who is, I believe, he's like the chairman of West Communications today. He used to be involved with the railroad. Well, Molly Brown now. Joe, what did you have to start off with? Well, if you wanted to next stop, maybe you might want to sit up closer, I don't know. Or we'll turn down the AC a little bit. The next street I'm going to go over down here is called the 16th Street Mall, and this is a place that you folks might want to check out while you're here. It was actually completed back in 1982 at a cost of $67 million. You'll see a shuttle down to your left here, and also the Capitol building down to the left, and a whole bunch of people waiting for me to cross the street here. It is actually a mile-long pedestrian promenade completed back in 1982. It's lined with red and gray granite. It was recently named one of the top 10 downtown streets in America. There's actually bus stations at each end of it, as I'm sure Annette knows, that take you to other parts of the city, and we do have a pretty good bus system. Now, the downtown shuttles there on the 16th Street Mall, they run free until 1 o'clock in the morning, and during the daytime they run every few minutes. During the evening, it takes a few minutes longer for them to get there, but it depends on how many people are on there because of all the people that are here. It also depends on which conventions that we have in town. Denver's a very big convention city. If you all do look to your left over here, you'll see Denver's Firehouse #1, and as you can all see, it was built back in 1909. At that time, it was one of the largest fire departments ever built in Denver. It had a little more than 11,000 square feet. What's kind of interesting to me, though, was that back in 1909, the horses' gates were mechanized, and when there was an emergency, the firemen would slide down 6 poles. The horses would automatically move out of their gates into their collars, and they could be out of this building, believe it or not, in as little as 17 seconds. Wow. I'm sure that would probably rival today's firefighters, these folks in blue coming out. Now, this is a museum, as you could all see today. It was used as a fire department until 1975, when it was retired as one of the oldest fire departments in the United States. Today, as a museum, it's open from 10 to 3, and I believe it's only $3 still to get in. And it is pretty neat. It'll probably take you only about an hour or less to go through the whole thing. But one of the things you'll find that we have here in Denver are a lot of cultural activity. Mountain News is one of our 2 newspapers here in Denver. It's actually Colorado's first newspaper, and if you see it on the facade out here, it'll tell you that. It was first published on April 23rd of 1859 by a gentleman by the name of William Newton Byers. And he came here across the plains from Lincoln, Nebraska, dragging his wife, 2 kids, and a printing press that whole distance. He was only 28. Our brand new sports arena called the Pepsi Center. It's a 20,000 seat, $180 million project. Just opened up last October 1st. It is where the Colorado Avalanche, our hockey team, and the Denver Nuggets, our basketball teams play. And if you look off over to the right there, you see the amusement park also. That is called Six Flags Elitch Gardens. It is the largest amusement park located in a downtown area of the United States today. It sits on 58 acres, has 50 major rides and a water park. Started back in 1890. The park's name, Elitch Gardens, is 110 years old.
That's not the original site, is it?
No, the original site was in Northwest Denver. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a moment. If you look up on the right over here, you'll be able to see the stadium. And back behind it, the stadium with the horse. Anybody have a clue as to who plays here? Hopefully somebody does.
Yeah, the Yankees. Broncos.
And the Mets? No.
Yeah. Mile High.
Yeah, actually, the orange and blue stadium back over there.
Colorado Rockies. And you got the Denver Broncos, right? Play here?
Yeah.
So the Rockies have their own stadium. I'll show you that in a few minutes.
Okay.
The orange blue stadium.
So this is the
back
football
there.
stadium then?
Yeah.
This is just the football only stadium, and football and soccer.
They've been having concerts there.
Which one is, that's the old one and this is the new one going up?
Right.
That's correct.
Oh.
Mile High Stadium back there.
The old one looks new.
The old one looks new, huh?
Yeah, it looks pretty new.
Why they take this big
Why they
stadium?
Well, actually, it was built in 1948, the old stadium.
Really?
Originally built as Bear Stadium for the Denver Bears, a AAA baseball team we used to have. And it's been added on to several times since then. The last time was in 1988 with the skyboxes here. Today it seats a little over 76,000 people. It has been sold out every single game since 1970. It is one of the true home field advantages of professional football.
They just want to get more capacity.
You beat our Jets a couple of years ago. I don't like that.
A pretty fun thing to do, I guess, is in St. Louis. Kurt Warner's looking pretty good already. But after we won our first Super Bowl, it's actually a neat place to see a game. If you look off over that direction, one over there, you see there's like a seat in the corner there between the seats. That whole right Elitch Gardens again, up over on your right here. It was purchased by Six Flags a couple of years ago, and to be honest with you, I still have a hard time with it. Elitch Gardens originally started in 1890 in Northwest Denver, and it was relocated to the downtown area here in the spring of 1995. And over the last 5 years, they spent more than $180 million moving the rides down here and building new ones. And today, as I mentioned to you all, it is the largest amusement park located in the downtown area today. It is a nice view off over this area of our skyline. You can actually see the sports arena, our skyline, and then right in front of us with the atrium and the Sharkscape sign on it is our brand new aquarium called Colorado's Ocean Journey. And it's actually one of the 10 largest aquariums in the U.S. today. A $93 million project opened up last June of 1999. A lot of things going on.
Remember that street's a good way to take people.
Right here. Areas such as Black Rock, Central City, Georgetown, Silver Pool, Idaho Springs, Nevada.
We hit all those places.
Just to name a few of those areas. Well, Denver development down here, including the crane over there, that's called the Flour Lofts. That used to be a flour mill that they're building together over there. The city of Denver has plans to spend about $30 million itself to build parking lots, or not parking lots, to build roads and schools and parks down here. And this is going to be the next area of development in downtown Denver. They're going to extend the 16th Street Mall a ways, and they're also going to make a bridge that you can walk over I-25 to go to the other side, to Highlands.
Oh, nice.
That's what all planned in the next 30 years.
Where's this here? That's the stadium?
The stadium on your right over here is the one you asked me about before, Al. This is where the Colorado Rockies play. It is Coors Field, is what it is called.
Wow.
It was actually completed back in the spring of 1995. It cost $215 million. and is actually one of the largest baseball stadiums in the United States. It holds about 52,000 people, and it's been sold out about 85% of the time since it opened in the spring of '95. And it is considered to be one of the nicest ballparks in the major leagues. A couple of years ago, we had the All-Star game here in Denver, and it is made in brick to resemble the old downtown ballparks that we had here in the United States. And also to blend in with the Lodo area we'll be going through next.
Yeah, a lot of these stadiums are going into this.
It is Coors because of Coors Beer. One of the Coors owners are where Coors developed their Blue Moon products. As I said, it seats 50,000 people, and if you look off over to your right here in a second, you'll be able to see some of the seats. And every seat is extra wide and contoured and has its own cup holder. And some of the seats are actually closer to the batter than the pitcher's mound. It is a very, very nice stadium. 1910. And if you look at them as we go down along the way, you can actually see what I call the real Old West. It isn't just what I call the real Old West, it is really the real Old West. Now, if you all would have come down here about 15 years ago, you would have seen what we would have called Skid Row. And most of these buildings down here would have been boarded up at that time. Even the people that worked in the gleaming skyscrapers a couple of blocks away wouldn't have dared to come down here. Today, though, this is one of the hottest real estate markets in the nation. Today there are more than 5,000 lofts, and lofts are just condominiums in the upper floors of these buildings. There are more than 100 restaurants downtown, with about 20 more on the plans right now. Downtown Denver's the place to be, very popular right now. And if you look off over to the left here, you'll see this building that has all the flags sticking out of it. This is the Oxford Hotel, our oldest grand hotel, built a year prior to the Brown Palace in 1891. It was actually built by the same architect. His name was Frank Edbrook, coming from Chicago originally. Now in 1891, this hotel had such modern day luxuries as separate water closets, a vertical railway, even had its own steam heating and electrical systems, which I don't know what you all think, but I think just for 108 years ago, 109 years ago, for those to be great luxuries is kind of amazing. You all know what a vertical railway was?
No.
It's an elevator. Oh. An elevator. Yeah. They did a $15 million renovation in 1991, and they discovered at that time that this hotel had pure silver chandeliers that had been painted over at a time when they thought that silver was worthless. It has beautiful marble floors, brass doors, Western paintings. It even has a beautiful marble, or hand-carved wood bar inside that is very well known here in Denver.
So either hotel is good to stay at, Brown and this one.
Yeah. Well, the Brown Palace is actually a bit nicer, but the Oxford Hotel has a lot of nice history to it also. It originally had as many as 400 rooms. Today only has 80. Each one of them, though, are said to be decorating the original Victorian block apart in this area. And if you would have taken a train back in the 1870s and had to change trains, you might have had to pick up your baggage and walk a block or two, which would have been pretty inconvenient. The Union Station was built in 1880, and that's though you can see the wings on the left and the right. The middle part burnt down in the 1890s, was rebuilt, torn down, and rebuilt again in 1914. So the middle part is from 1914, the wings are from 1880. Now in the early part of the century, we had as many as 88 passenger trains a day come through Denver. Today we only have 2, Amtrak from the east and Amtrak from the west. But you can see Denver was a very hustling and bustling city. Design center for a while in the late 80s, early 90s. Then over the last 4 years, they've been designing this into lofts, or renovating into lofts. And now you asked me about the price of lofts down here. This will give you a little bit of an idea. You're looking for about 700 square feet, which really isn't that big. You're looking at a minimum price of about $230,000. For about 1,000 square feet, not that much bigger, you're looking at a minimum price of about $320,000 with 1 parking space. The Union Pacific Railroad Station was actually completed back in 1883. It was their shipping depot.
Oh, David Chop House.
If you would have come down here about 6 or 7 years ago, you would have seen that building almost completely boarded up. Today it is Denver's Chop House and Brewery. It's one of our microbreweries. It is a restaurant. Sells about $20 a plate. It's sold out almost every single night of the week. Now in August of 1996, they listed 12 lofts for sale in the second floor of this building at more than $1 million apiece.
Wow.
You'll see the new construction up behind it. That's called One Winku Plaza. Those lofts run $300,000 to $400,000. Back behind the Chop House and Brewery, there is a piano bar called Sing Sing. You can go sing along with the whole bar and the piano player. And they also have an Irish brew pub too.
Tonight would be hard to get a reservation.
This stadium's got a lot of writing. I've seen a lot of articles. Looks like a beautiful stadium. Doesn't look that big though. Looks very small.
52,000 people.
What's Yankee Stadium called? I forget.
More than that.
Is
That's why Steinbrenner wants a new stadium.
If you look over on the right here, you'll see they're doing some renovations to this building here, and it's actually taken a long time to do that, but back in the early 80s, a man by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger started buying this property when people could hardly even give it away. Today, he owns that entire block, and they're planning on building like 400-unit loft complex, like a movie theater, something like a Planet Hollywood, and like a luxury mall called a Stadium Mall. And for those of you on the right over there, you can see the Hotel Bar. It's one of my favorite buildings downtown. Today it's a senior living center, but as I said, it was a hotel built in 1893. It's actually a very nice area. It's in a real part of the Old West. You'll see the old Hotel St. Elmo to your left here. Built back in 1898, French Renaissance design. And then just right in front of these buses to the right over here is the Market Street Station. And this is the end terminus in this direction for the 16th Street Mall shuttle. And these buses here are waiting to take people to other parts of the city. This is called Wall Street of the Rockies, or Bank Row. And almost every single one of these skyscrapers along here have a bank or other financial institution in it. It is the main financial district for this area of the United States. But this is what you would have seen in the opening credits of Dynasty. You'll notice a lot of parks and plazas as we go along the way, and a lot of people out in downtown Denver. It is very much a popular place to be. And notice how clean it is. Very clean for a big American city.
New York's pretty clean too.
It's an Italian restaurant.
Downtown, you know.
Oh, that's wonderful. Shops at Tabor Center. We're going to have an ESPN zone built there pretty soon. And then look off over to your right at the beautiful hanging baskets. This is called Writer Square. There's some beautiful shops up through that area, including a couple of nice art galleries. That area won an award back in the later 80s for the blending of the old in with, or the new in with the old.
This is very nice.
And then this next block here, you're going to see all the beautiful historic buildings. These buildings date back from 1874, 1875. This is called Larimer Square. This is Denver's oldest preserved historic district. These buildings date back, like I said, from 1874, 1875. And do y'all remember all those old Western movies you would have seen?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, with the towns that had the one dusty, dirty Main Street with the cows and the pigs roaming up and down it, the sheriff's office, the saloon, and all the, or the jail and everything lining it. Well, this would have been Denver's Main Street, actually, from its founding back in November of 1858 until the silver market crashed in 1893. So believe it or not, this huge metropolis grew up on only 141 years over that one dusty, dirty Main Street. At one time, we would have had many square blocks of buildings just like that all around this area. Unfortunately, they were all destroyed back in the urban renewal period of the late 60s through the early 80s. Behind the Lincoln Center in New York City.
Yeah.
And all underneath this one beautiful roof here, there are 8 theaters that seat over 9,200 people.
I'm out of film.
It is one of the all play here usually to sold out shows, and you all know their season usually doesn't start until the fall, so we got a month or two before it starts. And actually some of the major Broadway plays, they found people from 39 different states come here, so some of the major Broadway plays have started right here in Denver. It is one of the largest performing arts complexes in the world.
Well, are there Broadway plays all year long, or is it just certain seasons?
Just usually more in the fall. They do have performances all year round, but it's more so, it seems, in the fall time. Now to this with New York City, when it was built in 1906, it was actually said to be the second largest auditorium next to Madison Square Garden in New York City. Now in 1908, it hosted the Democratic National Convention.
They're relatives, but they
Have different points of view, huh? I didn't know that.
When you had a lot of money, you could afford it.
Well, this next block up over to our right, you'll see this big brown building here. This is our older convention center. It is called Corrigan Hall. And this is where they're going to double the Colorado Convention Center to. And the city of Denver is looking for somebody to actually buy that building and just take it apart and build it somewhere else again. And you'll see the convention center here to your right. They're going to double this, something just like this over the street. There's going to have a tunnel through the building so that the train and the street can go through. And they're going to have a big park up on the top, as well as a tunnel or a bridge to actually go over to the Performing Arts Complex town. But they've been doing a lot of construction down here the last few years.
I meant to say, given the added traffic.
You know, that's a good question. Nothing. We have no plans to do anything to it besides building another lane down on I-25.
It's Italian section.
See the Denver, you know, I don't know if we have sections really anymore, besides maybe a Mexican section or a black section. But there used to be. To the left here, the city of Denver is actually building an 8-story building where they're going to consolidate a lot of the city offices.
We were told there was an Italian section with grocery stores.
Like on 38th and Wadsworth?
Restaurants.
Somewhere in that area?
You know, there might be. I'm not really
Every
certain.
section has a little Italy, usually.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
certain. I mean, there might be. And I know at one time there would have been a lot more. Up over to the left on the corner over here is the U.S. Mint here in Denver. Boy, this is a nice glass right there. Look at that.
Brand new car, too.
Man. This is the U.S. Mint. If you look at it, it's a very government-like looking building. This is where they make about half of the coins that we use here in the United States today. They make the other half in Philadelphia. They make coins for east of the Mississippi, while the Denver Mint here makes coins west of the Mississippi depository. Actually, it's our nation's largest gold depository. And would you know our government is so arrogant as to claim that we have more than half the world's gold supply just at Fort Knox alone? More than half the world's gold supply. Well, they say 1/3 of our supply here in the United States is this 5-story building here. This is the Denver City Jail. Every night, more than 400 inmates spend the time at night right across the street from where all that money is made and where all that gold is stored.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that ironic?
That's the tour lodge.
To the left over here is the Denver City
Are they
County
arrested
building.
because they try to rob them in? Or is it...
Temptation.
And then as we go a little further on, if you look off over to the left, you'll see the nice gardens here of Civic Center Park. And I'll show you a better view of that in a moment. To the right here is the Denver Art Museum. It's the largest art museum between Kansas City and Los Angeles. It has over 17,000 artifacts dealing with Native American Indian art, the largest American Indian art collection in the world. And then off over to the right here is the Denver Public Library. It was actually completed in the spring of '95 also, and it costs $91 million. And today is said to be the 8th largest library in the United States, or the 23rd largest city. But it's said to be the 8th largest library in the Historical Society of the Colorado State History Museum. All this down here. Notice how clean it is once again.
I didn't realize Denver
left over there. Denver is one of the few cities in the United States that is a city and a county within itself. I think New York is a city and a county within itself.
Yeah, well, there's actually 5 counties in New York City.
There you go, 5 counties. That's what it is. The 5 boroughs and the 5 counties.
Right, exactly. Manhattan is known as New York County. The Bronx is Bronx County. Queens is Queens County. And Staten Island is Richmond County. So I think they changed it to Staten Island County.
And Brooklyn is Kings County.
And Kings County, correct.
Well, Denver is a city and a county within itself, so there's only one form of government to rule over the area.
What is that?
That is Marco Hotel. I've always stayed there.
Oh.
Is there a Hyatt hotel in Denver?
There is,
Do they have a nice atrium?
The Hyatt, no, they don't have an atrium. Top of the steeples. This was actually constructed back in 1906. It is the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, which means it is the head of the Denver Diocese for the Catholic Church. That's where the bishop is stationed. It actually has the beautiful 14 Stations of the Cross, which you'll usually see in Catholic churches. And the stained glass is very rare, very beautiful actually. It was made at the Munich Glass Works in Munich, Germany, which was bombed out by the Allies during World War II. Molly Brown, who's on the scene next to us on the Titanic, and also another gentleman by the name of John K. Mullen, helped to raise the funds for this church to complete it in 1906. It is very beautiful. It's got like a 4-story atrium on the inside. It's not glassy, you know, like it's 4-story dome-like area on the inside. Beautiful hand-carved wood, and it is gorgeous inside. It is a Catholic church, so you go inside it any time of the day, and they have mass all the time. And if you have a chance sometime to go there, I highly suggest. Picture like of this old hotel right here. It's actually built with a courtyard in the middle of it, so it can allow maximum ventilation and lighting.
This was an old hotel?
It was an old hotel, and so was this one over across the way here too. If you notice, this one was built back in the 1920s, more of the neoclassical style of architecture, and this one more built in the 40s, when we had a little less money, a little less flair of architecture. I don't like the sign that they have on one. And then from 1862 to 1867, the capital was actually in Golden, 15 miles west of here where the Queen's Brewery is.
That's why I remember.
From 1867, though, the legislators decided by only one vote to move the capital to Denver. That was back in 1867. Well, actually, the reason for that is because, and that might like this part, might not like this part too much, but they say that in 1867, Denver had 4,759 residents, and they say that it was the largest city in the territory that had enough women to be able to meet all the men while they were on session. And Idaho Springs, this would be the only place to walk around that spring. Would you like to have a brochure of that one? Would you like to have one to David, right?
Bob.
Bob, I'm sorry, Bob.
Bring us the sodas in there, all right?
I don't think you could.
All right. Let me know. It's actually a very nice brochure.
Yeah, I'll put it in your pocket. Please.
And it'll tell you a lot of information. I'll tell you, I obviously won't have a lot of time to tell you more today, but it's a very nice brochure. Be nice to you already. Well, actually, Brown's donated the land. Actually, the guy who was the architect for this Capitol building, his name was Elijah Myers. He came from Detroit. And he also designed the Capitol building in Salt Lake City, the one in Boise, Idaho, the one in Michigan, and also Austin, Texas, and also the
Right, it looks like the Brown Hotel almost.
Similar, yeah.
Did you say?
The atrium also. This section is a section of it has an atrium.
Well, this is like on the same design of the hotel.
Well, kind of.
Similar.
The architect was a much different person, actually. But,
Different person, but he must have spent a lot of time there looking at it because.
well, you all have to think about the Victorian times, though, which were very big into atrium. You'll see the golden or white oak, very popular for the Victorian times. Some built into this neighborhood. Those are some northern Arkansas. You'll also see a lot of grass here. And then this is a place you'll all think is a very beautiful view. This is called our Hall of Governors here, and I don't really care for it being called that because it has portraits of 5 of our 42 governors. So I don't know how you call it the Hall of Governors. Now this guy here was not a governor. This guy right here is Henry Brown. He's on here because he donated the land to the Capitol. Not because he was a generous guy, but because he knew that if he could have a building built with parks and everything, that would make the rest of his land look better. Well, that's fine. And since you folks live here, actually, I'll tell you a little story about him. And that actually, part of his agreement to donate the land to the Capitol building was if you looked at a map, and I bet you guys probably looked at a map of Denver, you know, it's really much in a street grid pattern built after the Roman cities, you know, north and south, east and west, except for when you get in the downtown areas. And if you look at all the downtown areas, it's kind of tilted off. Right, well, Denver originally was known as a mining town. They would mine tap out of town. It was in a 1 square mile. One town. And so he tried to send his people out one day. Sheriff came out and told him, he started with your fears. Today about our governments being corrupt, they were never as corrupt as they were 100 years ago. Why don't we go ahead and step off of this one here? In Denver, remember we have what are called the Mile High City, standing on the steps of the Capitol with the sun beating down on us. They say in 5 minutes you will receive more ultraviolet radiation than you would have received if you were in that 3 Mile Island.
That's what I need.
In just 5 minutes. Can you believe that? Because of our altitude here. Over across the way, you'll see the city and county building there. This is called the Civic Center Park area, and this area was the city leaders' vision for about 40 years before it finally took place. And what the early leaders wanted was they wanted a downtown area that would rival some of the great European cities. And if you look at this area, I think they did a very nice job of creating all of that. Looking west there, that is the city-county building of Denver. It was built in 1932, and it's meant to resemble an Athenian palace. You know, from like Athens, Greece. the park right down in front of it that has the beautiful formal gardens. And if you all have the chance to go down there during the daytime, I'd highly suggest it. They're gorgeous. There's all kinds of sculptures down there. The beautiful formal gardens. On the right are the Bond Peace Gates to the sea and a beautiful fountain with some dolphins. On the left, actually, is the Greek amphitheater. So, but I wouldn't go down there at night. But during the daytime, I would definitely go down. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's pretty scary. And if I'm scared in my city, you ought to be scared. Yeah, I wouldn't go down there at night. But downtown, if you stay in the main downtown area, you're okay. But if you want to go venture out of that area, it's not, I don't know, I wouldn't do it. There's a lot of homeless people and I don't know. The park in between the two streets down here with the pink obelisk is called Lincoln Park, and it is part of our Capitol grounds here. It is a state park. And that pink obelisk is our Veterans Memorial, meant to honor all veterans from Colorado. And the top of it lights up as a beacon for all of our fallen soldiers from Colorado here. Oh, does it? If you look off over to the left there in Lincoln Park, can you see the bell hanging down there in the park? Yeah. Just beyond the cannon right down here.
Oh, I see the bell.
The bell over there, that is our copy of the Liberty Bell. And every state in the United States, all 50 states, have a copy of the Liberty Bell at their capital. And that is our copy. We do. If you look above where the Liberty Bell is, can you see the funny gray building with the funny windows and the flagpole sticking out? Look at how still it is today. Not very often is it this still. It's been this way a lot this year. Just tells you how much heat we're going to have. But anyway, that is the art museum over there. It's meant to resemble a Byzantine fortress. It was completed in 1979. We just approved a bond issue, and we're going to do a $70 million improvement to the art museum also. It is already the largest between Kansas City and Los Angeles. And as I mentioned to you all, it has over 17,000 artifacts dealing with Native American Indian arts. And it's really interesting. I had some folks that went on a couple of tours with me, and one day in between they went to the art museum, and they went to go see that exhibit. And they're like, Heath, you didn't talk about it well enough. Basically what it is it's more than just art, Native American art. You know, I mean, like paintings or things like that. Because think about everything that they used. Everything from their moccasins to their headdresses to their water bottles, everything that they used they had to have made. So basically it's more than art, it's more of a history of the people. And it covers all the tribes of North America that we have information on. It's very wonderful. It's supposed to give you an artistic view from looking inside, outside of the buildings or at Denver. And something for you actually that is covered with 1 million Corningware tiles. Oh, is it? The art museum. If you kind of move just a little bit to the left here, you'll see the green triangular roof over there with the red brick down below it. That is the Denver Public Library, or part of it there. And as I mentioned to you all, it was completed in 1995 and is the 8th largest library in the United States. It has 5.5 miles of bookshelves inside it. If you like research on Western history or anything like that, that's where a lot of the Western history writers go. It has the Western History Department, and they have over 600,000 photo archives of places all over the West. It is the most complete Western archive of any place that they met in, and that's where the table is up there. We paid $75,000 for that table. You can believe that, a wood table. But you can go up there and see that table. And also, as a matter of fact, just recently, his name is in leading cities of the world.
That's a nice shot. Can you get that shot?
Boy, it is sizzling out here, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's going to be a hot one today.
Yeah, remember actually that we're a mile above where you all live there in New York, and it's still that hot. Think about that. If you all want to look underneath my feet, 80 feet above sea level, or 1 mile, and they originally had a bronze plaque marking that. You can see the rivet points for it there. However, people kept on stealing that as a souvenir. So finally in the 1930s, the state got tired of putting the bronze plaque on there, and they decided to etch it into the stone, figuring it was a lot harder to steal a whole granite step than to steal that little bronze plaque.
What?
Kind of interesting, though.
Well, somebody did?
No, they didn't steal the step, but it was a lot harder to do that. In 1969, some students came down here from Colorado State University, and we all know how students are, right? Always challenging the status quo. Well, they actually determined at this time that this step was exactly 5,280 feet above sea level, or 1 mile, and so that the original engineers were 18 inches off. It's kind of interesting, though. You all live there in New York, close to the sea, right? It rises and falls, huh? So what really is sea level? It makes you think sometimes, right? They actually say Denver's altitude, though, is... That's what the artist if you look at it, because it doesn't look like Colorado, but maybe it'll have the neighbors not a lot of transportation, which is really these were all painted on canvas. The canvas was then applied to the walls, and you'll notice there's a poem underneath them. This poem actually was written by Thomas Hornsby Farrell, a local poet laureate. Take a look at the beautiful grand staircase. I wish I could take you up there, but we don't have enough time today.
It's all right.
There's actually a beautiful level up, the next level up, that actually has all of the portraits of presidents, and then the next level up where the round stained glass windows are, that's called the Ring of Fame. And those people all had something to do with the development of Colorado, and they date back from 1900, those stained glass windows. Then the next level, the white balcony that's just above it, if you all had a chance to come back sometime, they have 93 stairs leading from the second or the third level up to the next level, and you can go up there and you can walk around on the outside of the dome looking out on the city of Denver, and then there are billboards up there that tell you about each one of those people that are in the stained glass. If you think about that in the grand scheme of life, you have seen Cheyenne or Arapaho Indians roaming the plains here, and maybe got a glimpse of the Great Western Buffalo herd. You see the wagon and the train here, which is a very important part of development to the west, the gold mining materials, agriculture, and then, not agriculture and machinery, and then agriculture and cattle down here on the bottom. Today we just lump those both together in agriculture. That is a basket of potatoes, and believe it or not, Colorado was one of the leading producers of potatoes in the world. Even today, we ship a lot of potatoes actually over to Europe.
The thousands that left by the time period this was built. It's a very beautiful view. You can look up at the Capitol building here in that gold dome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run over to the van and start it up to try to get some of the hot air out for you, all right?
Good.
It'll still be a little warm. The Molly Brown house is just a couple of blocks away, but...
That's a beautiful statue. I like the green shrubbery around it.
Now, it's my cousin Geronimo over there.
Up there, but the best you're going to do is have a couple meters.
Going to kind of explain a little bit about Maggie or Molly Brown before we go into the house, because it is cold work in the house. In those days, they didn't have air conditioning. Where was she from? Well, actually, she was born in Hannibal, Missouri, and her name was Margaret Tobin, T-O-B-I-N. Her house is still standing in Hannibal. Does anyone know who else came from Hannibal, Missouri? His former wife who had passed away. So it was quite a large family. When she was around 14 or 15, she decided that Hannibal wasn't the place for her. She wanted more out of life. And in those days, we were all very involved with the gold rush and silver and so forth out west. So she decided to come out west. And before her, though, I should say, her brother Daniel came before she did, about 4 years before, and went to Leadville, Colorado. So it wasn't like she was coming all by herself, but that was still pretty adventuresome for that period of time. She came and she went to live in Leadville, Colorado, and her brother, as I said, was there. She got a job in a dry goods store, which was actually the beginning of the May Company, who owns Foley's and all these other big stores. It started in Leadville, Colorado, and that's where she worked as a clerk. And during her first year there, she was invited to a church social, and that's where she met her husband, John Joseph Brown, who we refer to, or he was called in his day, JJ. And JJ was actually from Pennsylvania and had sought his fortune as well in the West, had come to Leadville. He was about probably 15 years her senior. He had been there
1891 for a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Keating, known as the Keating House. And Mr. Keating made his money in real estate. Also had a bunch of other businesses that he invested in at that time period. This is a mansion. The Molly Brown house is not a mansion. It was considered to be an upper middle class home. It only has about 7,500 square feet, and I say that kind of only. It's still 3 times larger than the average American house today. But a mansion in architectural terms has over 10,000 square feet. So that's a little difference about that. It's about 30% larger than the Molly Brown house. This is a mansion, and it was completed back in 1891. It cost about $18,000 at that time. The land it sits on cost about $18,000. So let you know where the wealth is at. The land in Denver. And it's kind of funny if you think about it because we have a lot of space out here, but you also have to remember the type of transportation. It wasn't like a popular car, which is about a walk in a few minutes. You had to get in the carriage or walk to the place or something. This house today is actually a bed and breakfast. And they have hot tubs on the second and third floors. It's called the Capitol Hill Mansion. It'd be a nice place for a little romantic weekend getaway. Capitol Hill Mansion. The way these old houses would work was usually a ballroom would have been, and most of these big houses would have had a ballroom. That would have been your main social function. You have to remember they didn't have any TV, no radio, no phones to gab on. You know, they did have some phones, but you're only supposed to talk on them for a couple of minutes and do no gabbing on them or anything. You know, I'm not sure. Those are apartments. So he made his money in the railroads. The house actually was built in 1891 and cost $25,000. Good sum of money. Has over 12,000 square feet and has a very eclectic design. Has the medieval chimneys on it. Now his good friend and co-worker, Joseph Gilliloly, had the house built next door back in 1894. He was the treasurer of the Denver Grand Railroad. And I have to wonder if there was some hanky-panky going on between the two of them, because why would you have your house built right next door to your boss? Now in 1929, the Good Samaritan Nursing Home came in and they built the wing connecting the two houses together and painted it white at that time, making this into a sanatorium for tuberculosis patients with consumption. Finally in 1979, a California firm came in and they renovated it into condominiums, each one having their own hot tub, as you can see up in the middle there, and their own wrought iron balcony, and each one of them run around $350,000 a piece. Actually, it's very nice. I've been inside it. The one in the middle actually just was up for sale this weekend. They must have sold it because they don't have a for sale sign up anymore. It has 14 different units. Notice they have a secured gate. They have a beautiful fountain. It's actually very nice.
What were they selling that unit for?
I don't know, but they run about $350,000 a piece.
Were they 3 bedrooms or?
Well, they're good size. They're each at least.
The taxes are only $1,200.
For that one unit or whatever.
You're built like two part.
Molly actually got a job with Daniels and Fisher up in Leadville when she first arrived as a seamstress, and they were the first right. If you take a look actually at the sidewalk or the facade out here, see mining, cattle, very big ways to make money out here out west at that time period. Well, this gentleman, John K. Mullen, made his money a different way. He started a company called Hungarian Flour Mill. If you notice actually right on the corner here, I'll slow down for it, there's a beautiful blue Victorian house in the corner, and then look off over to beautiful city.
Very lovely. I'm surprised over the parks.